Diane Uhas says, I love to blog, write the occasional short story or poem, and I was always good at writing research papers, but I've never written anything longer than that. I've had it in the back of my head that I might one day write a book about coming to know and follow the Savior, my own story, but I am hesitant, wondering if I am called to write or not. People always say I write well. I'd like to know how to evaluate whether or not it's a calling. So I actually have some questions on my website, 10 ways to know if you're called to write. So I'm going to just say those to you, and you tell me if after you've listened to this, if you feel like you're called to write. So these are mine. You're probably called to write if your words, people go out of their way to tell you that your words have meant something to them. And so if you have some sort of history in the past of people saying, hey, that Christmas newsletter that you wrote just knocked my socks off, or people have emailed you out of the blue or written you notes or looked you in the eye and said, you are totally a writer, that's a good indication that you're called to write. Number two, if professionals in the industry notice talent in you and they say it to you or they email it to you or whatever, that's a good indication that you're called to write. Number three, you weather criticism about your work with grace and are determined to always write better. So you have to be teachable and humble and realize you're not God's gift to writing, and you must have this like tenacious desire to want to always get better. Number four, you're passionate about the writing craft. That should go without saying, but I know some people who just simply want to be published. They are enamored with the idea of being a famous author, ha ha ha, but they're not really writers. So you really must be passionate about the craft. Number five, you've heard from God that this is what he wants you to do. I mean, that can't be overstated, right? I mean, you definitely need to have a time or a period of time in your life where you've just felt this deep sense of calling. Number six, even if you've never made a dime at writing, you would do it anyway. And, you know, as a professional writer who doesn't make tons of money, I can attest that I will always be writing, even if I make nothing at it. Number seven, you take your writing seriously. You set those goals and you meet them. You make word count goals. And then number eight, you're not afraid to learn about the publishing industry. And that it's been changing so much with all the e-publishing revolution and all of that. So you have to not just give up and say it's just too much to know and I don't want to know it. I meet a lot of writers at writers' conferences who just wrote a great book or they think they've written a great book, but they know absolutely nothing about the publishing process or the industry. One thing you might want to do is go to publishersweekly.com, and they have a little free e-newsletter called PW Daily, and you can sign up for it on their website, and it gives you a lot of insight into the industry, so I'd highly recommend that. Number nine, you can't help but mentor other writers, so you might be here on your path and you've come this far, and then because you've learned a little bit, then you can't help but just mentor the next generation of writers. I remember I learned how to write a query letter. I didn't even know how to do it. And once I learned it, I taught it to other people. Number 10, you have settled the ego issue that publishing doesn't validate your life, that a contract doesn't make your worth. And if you've settled that in your heart that you are much more than your words, then then that's another indication that you've been called to write. So I hope that helps. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Yvonne Blake says, what's your opinion of the new trends in book publishing, ebook, self-publishing, POD? Is this a fad or is it here to stay? Is it wise to jump on board or keep with the traditional methods? Yes, it's here to stay. No, it's not a fad. Yes, you need to understand it and jump on probably. I've done that with my book, The 11 Secrets of Getting Published, and it was a book that wouldn't fit in traditional publishing, so I figured since I had the content anyway, I would try it. It's been successful so far, but I haven't abandoned traditional publishing. I am still under contract with lots of books coming, and the benefit of traditional publishing is you get great editing. You know you're going to have a great product. They get things into stores for you. You get paid. That's really great. So there are some definite benefits to traditional publishing. But when you have a format or a book that's different and won't be published in the general market, it's a great idea to go ahead and self-publish, e-publish, publish on demand, any of those things, print on demand. Just be sure that you get a professional looking cover and you get a professional edit, because you do not want to have regret after you've put something out there that's not very good. Diane Yuhas says, I'd also love a list of resources new or inexperienced writers for their improvement in future publication. I will say that the advanced fiction the advancedfictionwriting.com by Randy Ingermanson is a great start if you write fiction. If you go to wannabepublished.blogspot.com, you will see all of that I've written about publishing and a lot of guest posts and all of that. If you want it in one easy format, you can buy the 11 Secrets of Getting Published. There are hundreds of sites that will help brand new writers, and I wish that I'm just answering this on the fly, so I don't have a list for you right now, but noveljourney.blogspot.com is another great one. michaelhyatt.com is a great place to learn about the publishing industry. Rochelle Gardner's blog, she's an agent in the industry, and she writes great stuff. So if you really want to know everything to know about how to get published, you really need to look at her site. Deanna McCune Albrecht, that's a long name. She asked like 7,000 questions. How did you know that you should write both fiction and non? Okay, I just knew. I was a math major, and I started off college as a math major. I ended as an English major, so I've got both of those sides of my brain going on at the same time. And I do both well. Not everyone does, and I wouldn't recommend it for most people. So that's how I know. If you had to choose one, which would you choose? I would probably lean toward fiction. I love to tell stories. How did you begin to build your readership or platform? One step at a time. I've been building it for 7 years now, and it has taken so long. And it's just one little pebble after another that you're overturning on a long driveway to get to the top of the driveway. It's just a long process. Best writing advice I've received. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, they tell you to write what you know. They tell you show, don't tell. I'm a little stumped on that one. I think Anne Lamott's advice to write crummy first drafts was a really good piece of advice for me, to let go of that critic. How do you know or decide which ideas should be developed more for possible publication? I talk about them a lot. If I'm writing, this is nonfiction. Fiction, I keep it to myself and then I write it. No one really hears about that. But nonfiction, I talk about my idea. I see if there's any responses. I talk with my husband about it. I talk with my critique group about it. I do more research. I make sure that there aren't other books like that out there. If there are, I won't write it. What's the point? So a variety of reasons. Do you belong to a writers group? Yes, I have belonged to one since 2001, and so 10 years now, and I know that's the reason that I'm published today. Do you ever procrastinate with your writing, and if so, how do you move past it? Typically, no. I believe I'm a professional, and I make myself meet deadlines. I did that during that decade where I wrote in obscurity. I would make these deadlines for myself, and then I would exceed them. So if I said, you need to have this pretend article done by Tuesday, then I would have it done by Monday. I just trained myself to be